The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
So in the latest ominous signal from the crypto industry, Coinbase is reportedly selling geolocation data to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, more commonly known as ICE. Joining us now to discuss this is Jack Paulson, director of the watchdog group Tech Inquiry. Hey, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So yeah, this sounds like really bad. Can you just, for people who are not following this, can you break down your findings and what exactly you believe Coinbase is doing and why?
Sure. So my nonprofit has been tracking Coinbase's U.S. federal contracts for a little over 2 years. Their first public contract was actually with the Secret Service, which is another part of the Department of Homeland Security. But it was about 10 months ago when Coinbase had its first contract with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement that we really had our eyebrows raised. And so immediately we filed Freedom of Information requests. There were 2 contracts with ICE in roughly a month, one in August for $29,000, one in September for $1.365 million. The latter got a lot more attention, but it's actually the former that we got back this interesting Freedom of Information request response. We in fact got both back in the last few weeks, but the more than $1 million contract, ICE redacted almost every single detail of what Coinbase was doing, like literally 22 pages of nothing but redactions. And so we really lucked out to get really all the details of what the smaller $29,000 contract was. And as you know, caught the headlines, one of the pieces of the statement of work was that Coinbase is selling, quote, historical geo-tracking data, as well as the list of the 12 cryptocurrencies that Coinbase is helping ICE analyze, which includes, you know, Bitcoin, Zcash, Tether, Ethereum, et cetera.
So just to explain this a little bit further, though, what would ICE want with this data? Like what, you know, in terms of immigration and customs enforcement, like why do they want data from a crypto exchange? Can you just explain, I mean, why they would even be using this?
Yeah, so I have to be careful here because I don't want to speculate. I think there's enough damning information just from what is, you know, I would say not even reportedly, just a fact. But this is through the so-called Homeland Security investigations component of ICE. You can really think of ICE as broken up in 2 components. There's HSI, or Homeland Security Investigations, which this is through, and then there's also Enforcement and Removal Operations, or ERO. And so I would note that there was a very similar debate that took place for Palantir, you know, over the last few years, where Palantir notoriously contracted with the HSI, and they claimed and swore that they were not supporting any deportations. Ultimately, even the CEO of the company now admits they were indeed supporting deportations. And so I think there's a predictable narrative that Coinbase might later try, which is, you know, to say they have no hand in deportations. But as far as I'm aware, according to the reporting done by Sam Biddle at The Intercept, Coinbase refused to say whether this work would be used for deportations.
Okay, so just to hear Coinbase's side of the story, a spokesperson has provided this statement. As explained on our website, Coinbase Analytics, now Coinbase Tracer, is a compliance solution that Coinbase offers to governments, financial institutions, and crypto businesses. It enables them to investigate financial crimes, including money laundering and terrorist financing. All Coinbase Tracer features use data that is fully sourced from online, publicly available data and do not include any personally identifiable information for anyone or any proprietary Coinbase user data. So it seems to me that the salient part of that quote is the second part. What is your response to that?
Well, as pointed out by Sam Biddle at The Intercept, even on the public-facing website of Coinbase Tracer, they say that one of the goals for law enforcement is to, quote, connect addresses to real-world entities. So, you know, you tell me how you can not have any PII and also connect cryptocurrency transactions to real people. I think it's an obvious contradiction.
You mentioned, of course, the enforcement part, immigration enforcement. and deportations as something that has come up in the past with other companies. Nonetheless, there is the C in ICE's customs. Is there any indication that this is used, for instance, for customs enforcement in terms of people trying to get around paying taxes and tariffs and the likes?
Well, one of Coinbase's first contracts was actually with the IRS. And so certainly, investigating potential tax evasion is going to be one of the major roles. And it would also be important for me to say that Coinbase receives less money significantly from the US federal government than Chainalysis, which is operating in a similar space to the Coinbase Tracer product. And in fact, the recent 990 filing from the venture capital arm of U.S. intelligence agencies, In-Q-Tel, actually shows that they paid Chainalysis, I believe, $1.65 million in 2021. And so this is a really big space, really across U.S. intelligence and law enforcement.
So Jack, my understanding is that you got this information from a Freedom of Information Act request, a FOIA request. So, and you mentioned that ICE, that contract was just one of the things on this document. Are there other contracts that stick out to you?
Yeah, like I said, the first contracts were with Secret Service, which are a component of DHS. There's the IRS contracts. But actually, most notably, in fact, yesterday, the $1 million contract that Coinbase has with ICE was actually increased by $455,000. So it's a bit ironic that that happened the same day this news broke. And so that's now worth $1.8 million, and the scope was extended for another year. But the other notable thing is that Coinbase actually had a contract with the FBI, much like Chainalysis, but that contract was in fact removed from public record, which is a fairly rare thing to happen.